Part 55. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 541. Shuxia looked at Sasaki with a suspicious look on his face, and tried to speak in broken Chinese, whispering, "Brother, big sister, Happy New Year, please, treat the prisoners preferentially." Shuxia twisted his body to make himself feel better. "Sasaki, what does this sentence mean?" Sasaki scratched his head. His grandfather didn't tell him what it meant, but he checked it himself and the general meaning should be correct. It's similar to a friendly greeting. My grandfather said that as long as you kneel down and say this, you can save your life 9 times out of 10. Shuyoshi was very anxious when he heard this. "You bastard, you asked me to kneel down and say that this is a great insult to the imperial warriors of our childhood. I can't possibly do it. Even if the jade is broken, I can't kneel down." The roar under the tree resounded throughout the basement, startling Sasaki. Sasaki didn't expect such a big reaction from under the tree. In his mind, kneeling is a very common thing. Isn't it always kneeling when apologizing? Sasaki glanced at the angry tree, pursed his lips, shrugged, and said nonchalantly, "Forget it, it's your life anyway, it has nothing to do with me." He only told the tree about the life-saving charm because he felt sorry for him. Most people wouldn't tell him about it. The basement fell into silence for a long time again. Sasaki had just had breakfast after working hard all night, and fell asleep directly after feeling sleepy. Lying on the ground under the tree, he looked angrily at the snoring Sasaki, wishing he could bite off a piece of his flesh. I don't know how long it took, but the basement door was opened again, and Li Qing walked in with his younger brothers. He looked at the sleeping Sasaki funny, but the crow next to him couldn't stand it, so he kicked him awake. At the same time, it also woke up the dazed hill under the tree. Sasaki rubbed his eyes, stood up awkwardly, and smiled naively. "Brother, you are here." Li Qing and others ignored him, but looked at the tree lying on the ground with interest. "Are you the tree under the hill?" Li Qing looked down at the tree, with a trace of scrutiny in his eyes, then turned to the crow and nodded. When Crow saw his elder brother nodding, he immediately pulled out the dagger from his waist and walked towards the hill under the tree. The hill under the tree opened his eyes wide in fear. The man on the other side didn't even interrogate him, but wanted to kill him. It was really cruel. The will to survive suddenly caused the small universe in his heart to explode, and he stood up and knelt directly on the concrete floor. The crow thought that the tree was about to rise up and resist, but it was also startled. Unexpectedly, Xiaoshan knelt on the ground under the tree and shouted directly in the direction of Li Qing, "Happy New Year, big brother and big sister, please, treat the prisoners preferentially." The tone was a bit awkward, but Li Qing and others could still understand it. This was the first time Zhang Dongxiu heard the sentence, and he burst out laughing. "Holy shit, you're such a talent." Crow rolled his eyes. He heard Sasaki say it yesterday, and it seemed that Sasaki taught him. The crow ignored him and took the dagger to cut a hole in Xiaoshan's chest clothes under the tree. He was so frightened that the hill under the tree screamed and kept twisting left and right, for fear that the crow would stab him. At this moment, Shuxia felt not only panic, but also resentment towards Sasaki. He had said that he could save his life, but now it was of no use at all. Li Qing also smiled. It seemed that this person was not as tough as he thought. "I saw 2 blood-like leaves tattooed on the left chest under the tree. Everything was just like Yamamoto Satoshi said. Official members had 2 red leaves on the left chest." He knelt down and looked at the shocked tree. "Tell me about it, otherwise I can't guarantee that you will be able to keep the whole body." The man under the tree looked pale and lowered his head. He was not as strong as he thought, and he was extremely afraid of death. "Although I am an official member of the ERYE club, I don't know much." The action team I was responsible for was also killed by you. Shuxia said softly. Li Qing did not speak but looked at Sasaki, who was standing aside. Sasaki quickly said, he lied. In addition to being in charge of our action team, he is also responsible for the deployment of other members of the Or Leave Club. He is the one who knows best in the organization, dear members. Sasaki's words almost made Shuxia angry to death. Just now, he wanted to say some irrelevant information to get through, but he didn't expect Sasaki to betray him so completely. Damn Sasaki, you Japanese traitor! Shuxia glared at Sasaki with a red face. If eyes could kill, I'm afraid Sasaki would have died several times by now. The crow looked gloomily and cut off the little finger of the hill under the tree with the dagger in his hand. A painful scream sounded from under the tree, making Sasaki tremble. Compared with this kind of pain, he suddenly felt that the swelling on the soles of his feet was not unbearable. Li Qing looked under the tree with a smile. You don't think you are really that important, do you? I heard that your boss is Kamita. Do you think we will catch him? Impossible, shouted the tree. But he suddenly remembered the relationship between Sasaki and Kamita. This matter was not really impossible, and then fell silent. Tell me about the plan of the Two Leaves Society. Looking at the silence under the tree, Li Qing knew that his heart was beginning to loosen. Shuxia pursed his lips and finally said, I am only responsible for the affairs of China. I have about 300 peripheral members who are in charge of them. They are distributed in various regions of China in the name of investment. Most of them are about participating in culture, education, medical care, and elderly care. Similar to what Li Qing guessed, the Iryi Society is slowly entering the cultural field of the hometown in the name of foreign investment, such as publishing houses, TV stations, advertising companies. In addition, they have also bought some pro-Japanese public intellectuals and invested in slowly training them. When the time comes, they can rely on these public intellectuals to cheer for the whitewashing of Zaire. Fortunately, the plan of the Iryi Society is in its early stages and has not been fully launched. Now it is just sporadically spreading some public opinion to test the reaction of the people. Zaire is insidious. Li Qing sat directly on the chair, looking at Shuxia with an uncertain face. He confirmed that Shuxia must have something to hide, and even Sasaki didn't know about the things he hid. Untie him, give him paper and pen, and let him write down all the people he knows about the Chinese plan. Li Qing said in a deep voice. Upon hearing this, Wu Ya cut the rope with a dagger, and the younger brother behind him simply bandaged Shuxia to stop the bleeding, and asked him to lie on the ground and write down all the people who said they knew. Just as I was writing names under the tree, gunshots suddenly rang out outside. Li Qing frowned. Dongziu, go up and see what's going on. In the daily life, few people dare to touch the tiger whiskers of the Qingmue group. The sudden gunshots at the Qingmue group headquarters must be unusual. Zhang Dongziu nodded and walked straight upstairs. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Banwanqing Bulletin Liang. Chapter 542. A few hours ago. In order to save Shuxia, Taro Kamita sent out a total of 4 action teams, about 40 people. On the surface, it was to save Shuxia, but in fact, Taro Kamita had already ordered that Shuxia's life or death must be destroyed, but the things in the black briefcase must be destroyed. The materials in the black briefcase are more valuable than Shuxia's life. Once the Aoki group gets hold of them, the entire Two Leaves Society will be in trouble. Unfortunately, before the action team arrived, Shuxia Xiaoshan was kidnapped by the Aoki group. Asshole, why did the Aoki group act faster than us? Taro Kamita directly pushed down the decorations in the room, and the beautiful white porcelain instantly fell to the ground and shattered. Mr. Kamita, what should we do? The middle-aged and elderly people kneeling at the bottom asked. Yes, Mr. Kamita. I didn't expect that damn Shuxia actually took the list away. Humph, This Shuxia should be trying to save his life. As long as the list is there, we will definitely send someone to rescue him. Damn it, should we recall overseas personnel? I'm afraid. The people kneeling on both sides are all elites of the Two Leaves Society like Shuxia, and they are responsible for cultural invasion in different regions. Once the list is leaked, the overall plan of the organization will be destroyed. It can be said that the efforts of the entire Two Leaves Society for more than 10 years will be destroyed in one day. Grab it, we must grab it back. Kamita's fist hit the low table hard, making a dull sound. This sentence made the members who were still discussing just now shut up instantly, looking at each other in surprise, with incredible expressions on their faces. Came, Mr. Kamita, what did you say? Someone asked carefully. Once the list is obtained by the Aoki group, do you know the consequences? Kamita stood up and looked around at the dozen members around him. Seeing that the members were silent, Kamita said with some pain, the entire Two Leaves Society will be uprooted. Especially those overseas arrangements, that is our efforts for more than 10 years, are you guys just going to watch our efforts go to waste? The whole room was very silent. But, the other side is not just the Aoki group, that is the New World, some members hesitated. If it is just the Aoki group of Zairi, it is not a big threat to them at all. What they are afraid of is the New World behind the Aoki group. The New World just made a wave of things in Turkic, and even the Zairi government dare not offend the New World easily. If we really attack the Aoki group rashly, it will be a big deal. As long as we act quickly, the other side will not be able to react. We will retreat after getting the list, and we will never fight. Even if the New World settles accounts afterwards, they can't find anyone, because they don't know our identity at all, Kamita said viciously. But, most people were still hesitant. They felt heavy in their hearts. Once they agreed to Kamita's attack plan, if it failed, everyone present would be liquidated by the New World. Gentlemen, don't forget. Your names are also on the list. Do you think the New World can let you go? Kamita's words became the last straw that broke the camel's back. Okay. I agree. It can only be done this way. Kamita nodded with satisfaction. Mobilize all action groups near Tokyo. The Two Leaf Society action groups scattered near Tokyo have about 7 or 8 teams, with a total of more than 130 people. According to Kamita's guess, if the Aoki group is caught off guard, the battle should be over in a short time. Zhang Dongzhou hurried back to the basement and whispered in Li Qing's ear, "Brother, a small group of death squads are attacking our headquarters." "Yes, it's the death squad." What Zhang Dongzhou just saw was a group of people who were not afraid of death at all, launching attacks again and again. Li Qing frowned and looked at the kneeling Xiaoshan under the tree in confusion. Is this guy so important? Let's go up and take a look. Leaving a few younger brothers to guard in the basement, Li Qing took Zhang Dongzhou and Crow up. Aja and Xianzi saw their eldest brother Li Qing coming up and hurried over. Brother! What's the situation? Li Qing listened to the fierce gunfire outside. He, brother, the other side can't get in at all. Our walls are specially made. It turned out that since the last time the Aoki group was attacked, Aja and Xianzi learned from their mistakes and decided to strengthen the defense of the headquarters. The walls were directly thickened, not to mention bullets, even cluster grenades couldn't blow them up. In addition, the two specially found a Japanese expert and quietly turned the flower bed outside into a bunker. Don't look at the loud gunfire outside. In fact, the invading enemies were stuck in front of the flower bed and couldn't get in at all. Oh, Li Qing took the telescope and looked into the distance with some curiosity. Sure enough, the bodies of some members of the action team wearing blue bulletproof vests were already piled up. But the rest of the people still rushed over here one after another, trying to break through the firepower network of the flower bed bunker. Li Qing looked at the fearless appearance of the opposite side, put down the telescope in his hand, and thought deeply, the opposite side is charging so recklessly, is it really for the hill under the tree? Knowing the gap between the enemy and us, they still charge like this, which is a bit like the spirit of the Bushido Suicide Squad. Is the other side crazy? How big is the hatred? Such a charge, no matter how many lives are enough. Crow was also amazed. Although the Aoki group did not have a machine gun, the AK bursts were not to be underestimated. In a short time, several members of the action team fell. Aja, in addition to catching the people under the tree, did you find anything useful? Li Qing asked in a deep voice. Hearing the eldest brother's question, Aja remembered that he seemed to have taken a black briefcase. There is a black briefcase with a bunch of garbled documents in it. I put it on the table in the basement. Aja patted his head. He had forgotten about it. Li Qing realized that the other side must be because of the things in the black briefcase, and no longer cared about the battle outside, and then went downstairs. After all, there was nothing to see. If the wall peeled off a little, he would lose. Li Qing returned to the basement and opened the black briefcase on the table. There were some information scattered inside, and some things similar to lists. But to the naked eye, it was all some incomprehensible garbled code, as if the text on it was missing most of the words, making it impossible to recognize it at all. Shuxia, what is this? Li Qing raised the information in his hand. Shuxia Xiaoshan held the broken finger in a listless manner, stammered his lips, and never spoke. He was a smart man, knowing that he was different from Sasaki and would eventually die, so he simply kept silent. What? Do you still think those people outside can save you? Li Qing sneered. Crow squatted in front of Shuxia Xiaoshan with a grim smile. Don't say. Okay, I'll make you live a life worse than death. After saying that, the dagger pressed on his index finger again. Shuxia felt the pain and realized that he was not as fearless as he imagined, and hurriedly shouted, "Glasses, my glasses!" Crow looked up and took out a pair of glasses from his arms. Brother. Li Qing glanced at it, took the glasses, and tried to read the information through the glasses. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 543. After a long time, Li Qing put down his glasses. Brother, have you found anything? Crow asked curiously, but he was worried because his brother's face was not very good. Li Qing coughed awkwardly. Ahem, let's get someone who knows Zirizi language. It turned out that he didn't know Zirizi language even with his glasses, and he guessed that it should be about the list of people. Hearing his brother's request for help, a younger brother hurried over, respectfully took the glasses and information from Li Qing, and translated it seriously. As expected, most of the information in the black briefcase was about the peripheral members of the Two-Leaf Society scattered throughout East Asia and some important hidden players. Brother, this is the list of official members. The younger brother solemnly took out a thin list at the innermost. There were not many names on the list, only more than 20, but each of them had an extraordinary identity. Listening to the names translated by the younger brother and the identity introduction at the back, Li Qing's face became more and more unsightly. Kaojiji, deputy mayor of Osaka, once served in the self-defense forces. Oda Hiroshi, lieutenant colonel of the self-defense forces, currently the head of the self-defense forces stationed in Tokyo. Ito Jun, mayor of Nagoya, once served in the self-defense forces. Each of them is not the top group of people in Zaire, but they are not bad either. At least this force can influence Zaire politics to a certain extent. Li Qing had expected these, and what made Li Qing furious was that there was another list behind this list. Although Li Qing did not know the names on the list, they were the director of a certain hospital in China, a certain scholar and expert, and a backbone of a certain scientific research institution. Even the younger brother who was translating beside Li Qing could feel the change in the surrounding air pressure and couldn't help swallowing his saliva. After a long period of silence, "Good. Ha ha." Li Qing suddenly laughed, but the laughter made Crow and others even more palpitating. Everyone felt a chill behind their heads, as if a cold wind blew, and they shrank their necks at the same time. "Complete these lists," Li Qing said to the younger brother who translated. "The list in the black briefcase not only involves China, but also South Korea, Russia, and Southeast Asian countries. They are really ambitious. They use anime culture to secretly carry some private goods, and now they have begun to slowly influence the new generation." The younger brother responded quickly and hurried out. At this time, the gunshots outside the door became less and less, which also meant that the battle outside was about to end. Li Qing squatted down and looked directly into the eyes of the tree, showing his white teeth. "Hey, who do you think will win?" The tree closed his eyes painfully, and there was no need to guess the result. If the two-leaf association won, they would have rushed in now. There was no movement outside now, and it must be that the Aoki group won. Sure enough, Aja pushed the door open, came to Li Qing, and whispered, "Brother, the people outside have been dealt with, a total of 134 people." When the tree heard Aja's words, his pupils shrank rapidly. The entire action team near Tokyo added up to almost these people. Gulp. Sasaki, who was standing not far away, swallowed his saliva accidentally. He was obviously a little shocked that the Aoki group eliminated more than 130 members of the action group in a short time. As a member of the action group, he knew the combat power of the action group very well. Except for him being a parallel import, they were basically excellent soldiers retired from the self-defense forces. "Anything else to say? If there is more important information, I can consider giving you a way out," Li Qing said in a deep voice. Shuxia Xiaoshan looked up at Li Qing with a pale face and said nothing. It is impossible to survive in the current situation. He has heard about the attitude of the New World towards the enemy. He has made up his mind and will not reveal any information. Li Qing looked at Shuxia Xiaoshan and closed his eyes and shook his head. He smiled and stood up. "Give him a quick death." Crow took the rope from his younger brother with a grim smile. He wanted to hang Shuxia himself, just like the righteous Chinese who hanged Shuxia and others' fathers decades ago, World War II war criminals. The crow made a loop of the rope and put it around the neck of Shuxia Xiaoshan, and the other end passed through the ring on the ceiling. What surprised everyone was that Shuxia Xiaoshan had no expression, as if he had accepted his fate and let the crow do whatever he wanted. Just when Li Qing was about to turn around and leave, Sasaki raised his hand. Big brother." Sasaki raised his hand with a nod and bowed, indicating that he had something to say. "No need to raise your hand, just say it if you have something to say." Li Qing looked at Sasaki with amusement. There is something in the ring on the middle finger of his right hand." Sasaki smiled ingratiatingly and said. He also discovered this incident accidentally. Once when he went to report something to Shuxia, he accidentally saw him fiddling with the ring on his hand. From then on, he knew that there must be something important in the ring. Shuxia, who had originally looked calm and waiting to die, suddenly opened his eyes, immediately opened the restraints, raised his right hand and wanted to smash it on the ground to smash the ring on his middle finger. But Li Qing's action was faster than his. He kicked Shuxia's arm bone with a side kick, and Shuxia's right arm drooped down helplessly. "Sasaki, your mother, you bastard, you will not die well." Shuxia Xiaoshan cursed Sasaki with a ferocious face, and even tried his best to grab Sasaki, who was not far away. He could not feel the pain now, and wanted to kill Sasaki. Crow sneered and pulled the rope, causing Shuxia to stumble and fall to the ground. Li Qing squatted down again. "So that's it, deliberately let us think that the things in the black suitcase are the most important, just cut off a finger, and the secret of the information was immediately revealed. Haha, it seems that you want to hide the things in the ring. Li Qing only remembered now why the contrast between Shuxia and before was a bit big, and he was obviously afraid of death, and he was willing to kneel down in exchange for a chance to survive. Later, he was put on the rope by Crow, and he looked like he was ready to die, as if he wanted to die. It turned out that he was protecting something more important than the information. Without waiting for his elder brother to call, Zhang Dongzhou picked up the dagger directly from the ground, let two younger brothers hold Shuxia, and cut off the index finger of his right hand. He took a tissue from the younger brother's hand, wiped the ring carefully, and handed it to his elder brother. Li Qing took the sapphire ring. The ring was not very big and the style was very ordinary. Most people would not notice it. If it weren't for Sasaki's reminder, the plan under the tree would have succeeded. Xiaoshan under the tree roared and tried hard to break free from the restraints of the two younger brothers. He stared at the ring in Li Qing's hand, as if the ring was more important to him than his life. Li Qing stood up, looked down at the tree, and shook the ring. What is in it? I'm curious. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 544. You bastard, you don't know. Shuxia Xiaoshan looked at Li Qing with resentment, biting his tongue with his teeth. But how could Zhang Dongzhou, who had been paying attention to him, let him have his way? He directly pinched Shuxia Xiaoshan's chin with his big hand. Crack! Zhang Dongzhou exerted force on his hand and directly removed Shuxia's chin. Interesting. Li Qing looked at Shuxia Xiaoshan, who was struggling constantly, and he was very interested in what was inside the ring. Sasaki, you are good, I like you a little bit. Li Qing smiled and threw the sapphire ring in his hand to Sasaki. Take out the things inside. Sasaki was delighted and took the ring in a hurry. Okay, okay. Don't worry, big brother, I will definitely take out the things inside intact. Sasaki borrowed a dagger from Zhang Dongzhou's hand and carefully pried up the sapphire along the gap. He didn't know what was inside, so he was so careful. If it was something fragile, it would be a disaster if it was broken. Sweat beads slowly appeared on Sasaki's forehead, and he slowly used the dagger in his hand to pry up the sapphire bit by bit. Pa! The sound was very small, but everyone heard it. Sasaki gently took off the sapphire, and the things inside slowly came out. Big brother, look. Li Qing frowned and took the ring, which had a small chip stuck on it. He didn't know what the chip was for, but it must be very important. Aja, let someone decipher it. Li Qing handed the chip to Aja casually. There are specialized talents in the Kingmu group, and these are all small deaths for them. As for the hill under the tree, Li Qing decided to keep him alive first, and wait for the chip to be deciphered to see if he can dig something out of his mouth. Crow, Dongzhou, Xianzi, follow me. Li Qing asked the three to walk out of the basement. Walking to the door, watching the younger brothers dealing with the bodies of the action team members, Li Qing lit a cigarette. The other side has already made a move, and it is not Li Qing's style not to return it. Pointing at the dead bodies, he said, organize the Aoki group and all the New World Hotel assassins of Xiaorizai. I want you to kill the official members of the Two Leaf Society on the list within 1 day. There are about 20 official members on the list, and Li Qing doesn't want to let them go this time. The action team is so desperate, it must not be just for the tree and the information in the tree, it is very likely for the things in the chip. What is more important than the information in the suitcase? Li Qing can only think of one reason, that is, this thing is more important than their lives. He wants to eliminate them before the Two Leaf Society transfers the things in the chip. Maybe. Two Leaf Society has already started to act after hearing the news that the action team was wiped out. That's why Li Qing used the New World Hotel assassins, so that all the official members of the Two Leaf Society can be killed in the shortest time. Yes, Big Brother, Zhang Dongxiu, Crow, and Kenji responded at the same time and went down to make arrangements. All dead? Are you sure? Kamita Taro looked unbelievable. Let alone more than 130 people, even 130 mice would take a while to catch. The surviving members of the action team looked a little ugly. Mr. Kamita, the Aoki Group. The Aoki Group directly built the headquarters into a fortress, and we can't attack it at all. Who the hell would have thought that the headquarters of the Aoki Group was rebuilt according to the fortifications of Zaire during World War II? There was no response when the grenade was thrown over, and there was no rocket launcher on our side, so how could we fight? Asshole. Taro Kamita was speechless. The most important thing is that so many people died, and even the hair under the tree was not found, let alone killing him. Mr. Kamita, what should we do now? Should we evacuate? I don't think it's safe here, and Shuxia must have leaked our identities. Let's hide first, and the action team from other places in Zaire is coming now. Yes, let's talk about it when the people arrive. At this time, everyone present began to worry about their own safety, and the Aoki Group would not give up. Shuxia Xiaoshan, the dog thief, will definitely betray them. Kamita's face was livid and he didn't say anything. Others could run, but he couldn't. It was all because he trusted Shuxia too much, and let him carry half of such an important thing. It would be fine if he lost it. If someone got it, not only would he disappear from this world, but everyone related to him would be secretly killed. He looked around at the members of the Two-Leaf Society. This group of members who knew nothing would also be cleared out. Hide. Where to hide? There is no other way. Now we can only use our public identities to get rid of the Aoki Group. If these people really use their public power, it is possible to uproot the Aoki Group. But it is only the Aoki Group. Later they will be retaliated by the entire new world. Mr. Kamita, are you crazy? Don't you know? One of the members stood up suddenly and looked at him in shock. I know, why don't I know? If we destroy the Aoki Group, even the Zairize High Level will not stand on our side. The Zairize High Level looked at the face of the father of the beautiful country. The relationship between the New World and the beautiful country was more or less heard by the upper level. This is also the reason why they didn't provoke the Aoki Group in the past. Even if they sent out the action team this time, it was only to rescue or kill Shuxia. If a few people from the Aoki Group died, they still had room to maneuver. If they really broke the rules and used the power on the surface to wipe out the Aoki Group, no one could protect them. I don't agree, Kamita, you can die if you want. But you can't drag us down. Bang! Kamita pulled out a gun and shot the opponent to death before everyone reacted. Anyway, they were going to die. If they took the members of the Two-Leaf Society back and took that thing back, they still had a chance to survive. Everyone here is on the same boat. We have already taken action against the Aoki Group. Do you think they will let us go? This matter can only be done to the end. Kamita kept panting and glared at the members of the Two-Leaf Society viciously. Everyone was frightened by Kamita Taro's momentum, and they all sat on the tatami and looked at him in horror. They all thought that Kamita Taro had gone crazy, and that this matter could be dealt with after the storm was over. Li Qing could not stay in his quiet life forever. Once Li Qing left, no one would pay attention to the Two-Leaf Society, and then they would slowly come out. But because of the gun in Kamita's hand, everyone kept silent, as if they had tacitly agreed to Kamita's plan. Kamita breathed a sigh of relief. This is our only chance, please forgive my recklessness, and start contacting your own people now. Slowly, people began to pick up the phone, 1, 2, 3. Seeing this scene, Kamita habitually touched the ring on his little finger. Please, everyone. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 545. The Aoki Group and the New World Hotel in Zaire country acted very quickly, especially the killer in the New World Hotel, who immediately selected the nearest target the moment he received the mission. It was dusk in Osaka, the second largest city in Zaire country. At this time, Osaka Deputy Mayor Kaojiro was driving. It was the peak time for getting off work, and he was stuck on the road as usual. Beep, beep, he honked the horn impatiently and complained, "The damn traffic department is really a bunch of rubbish. It's always so congested every time after get off work." Xiaoquan was in a bad mood, not only because of the current congested traffic, but also because of the order of the Futaba Society. He had just received an order half an hour ago, requiring him to use all his power to suppress the power of the Aoki Group in Osaka City and completely solve this illegal violent group. Damn, don't the people above use their brains? What should we do after solving the Aoki Group? How to deal with the crazy revenge behind? Xiaoquan clenched his fist and hit the steering wheel hard. The organization made such an unwise move, which made him very embarrassed. On the one hand, he didn't want to give up his current position, on the other hand, he also had to consider the personal safety of himself and his family. But you can't have your cake and eat it too. You have to choose one side. After comprehensive consideration, he chose the Iryi Club. After all, he is a person who lives a simple life. He called his subordinates before leaving get off work and started to crack down on everything in the Aoki Group from tomorrow, whether it is casinos, bars, hotels, or other industries. This is also the reason why he is in a bad mood. Beep, beep. Xiaoquan frowned and honked the horn again, then opened the window and leaned out, shouting, "Hey, what's going on in front?" Someone in the car next to him looked around. It seems that there was a car accident in front. Xiaoquan was hesitating whether to get out of the car to take a look. He couldn't wait on the road all the time. His wife and children at home were still waiting for him to eat. After thinking about it, he gave up the idea. After all, his identity was the deputy mayor. It was hard to guarantee that no one would recognize him. It was better to be safe. Loosening the elastic tie, "Can't you bastards pull over to the side?" Bang. Xiaoquan only felt his car move slightly, as if it hit something. He stood up and looked outside. He saw a young man wearing roller skates accidentally hit the front wheel of his car, and now he was squatting on the ground covering his legs. Damn, don't you look at the road? The sidewalk is not wide enough, you have to come to the motor vehicle lane. Xiaoquan looked at the young man with a gloomy face. The young man seemed to realize his mistake, and reluctantly stood up and came to the car window, bowing and apologizing. "I'm really sorry, sir. It was my fault. Please see if there is any damage to your car, I can compensate you." Xiaoquan frowned, stuck his head out of the car window, and looked sideways in the direction of the front wheel. Swish. The thin blade in the young man's hand swept across Xiaoquan's neck. Xiaoquan felt a little pain in his neck and subconsciously covered his neck with his hand. "What are you doing?" The young man hurried forward, blocked the view of others with his body, gently supported Xiaoquan and let him lean back to the driver's seat, then opened the car door and helped him close the car window warmly. He held Xiaoquan's hand and pressed it on his aorta. "Come on, press hard, this will let you live a few more minutes. By the way, the new world says hello to you." The young man closed the car door, smiled and waved to Xiaoquan. It looked like an acquaintance saying goodbye to an old friend. Xiaoquan's eyes were wide open, and he felt blood gushing out from his fingertips. He stretched out his other hand and tried hard to open the car door, but the car door was already firmly held by the young killer. Then he slowly felt his weakness and his body slowly slid down to the driver's seat. The young killer sneered softly when he saw the dog who had lost too much blood and fell into a coma. He put on the headphones hanging around his neck again and left leisurely like an ordinary roller skating boy. Half an hour later, Osaka Deputy Mayor Kaojiro was found dead in the car. Similar assassinations are taking place in major cities such as Nagoya, Yokohama, Kobe, Fukuoka, Sapporo, etc. The capital of Tokyo is the same. In the secret club of the Futaba Society, more than a dozen elite members knelt quietly on the tatami. The dead body had been dragged away, and even the blood was cleaned up. Whether they were willing or not, they issued orders to eliminate the Aoki group in their respective areas of responsibility. Kamita was also very satisfied with this. Thank you for your sincere cooperation. I believe that the Aoki group will not make any big waves. He was very confident and believed that with so many forces, he would definitely get rid of the Aoki group. The others were silent. They didn't know what the future would be like, but they had already made up their minds that they would go overseas to hide for a while after leaving the store. Mr. Kamita, I don't know if we can go back. I have something important to deal with tonight, a member asked respectfully. Kamita looked at him with a fake smile. No hurry, no hurry, I have prepared a dinner for you, it's not too late to leave after dinner. He was afraid that these people would go back on their words, so it would be better to keep them here for the time being. Mr. Kamita, isn't this a bit inappropriate? My grandson's 100th day banquet. Ahem, my wife made sushi for me today. Pa Kamita looked around and clapped his hands. There were more than a dozen people in black suits, holding food and sake in front of the members. After finishing the job, they did not leave, but stood behind them steadily. Kamita's approach was self-evident. The members looked at each other, shut their mouths, and stopped talking. They didn't want to end up like the one who died. Kamita knelt in front of the low table with a smile, picked up the wine cup on the table. Gentlemen, this is the most severe test that the new Two-Leaf Society has encountered since its establishment. I hope you can face it together with the Two-Leaf Society. Here I offer you a glass. Kamita Taro drank the sake in the glass in one gulp. Seeing that things had come to this point, the others put on a fake smile on their faces again, raised the wine in the glass, and drank it all. They didn't know that the Aoki group and the Tokyo New World Hotel killer had secretly come to the mansion of the Two-Leaf Society. Are you sure it's here? Aja looked at Sasaki next to him. Sasaki looked carefully. It was raining when he came last time, but he still remembered the general location of the house. It should be. I've only been here once, Sasaki said in a low voice. Last time, he sent the tree down because of an emergency, but he didn't know which house was under the tree. Aja waved his hand and asked the younger brother of the Aoki group to go up and investigate before taking action, so as not to alert the enemy. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 546. Although the Two-Leaf Society action team suffered heavy losses, members of the action team from all over the country arrived in Tokyo one after another. The security capabilities of the Two-Leaf Society secret base are not weak now. The younger brothers reported that there were almost 20 people in the house, and there would be more people on guard in secret. Zhang Dongzhou thought about it and decided that he must not do it openly this time. If he alerted the enemy, it would be difficult to find these people if they ran away. Let the assassins of the New World Hotel go first. They are experts in assassination and are much more careful than the rough members of the Aoki group. The assassins of the New World Hotel were not vague. They sent a team of snipers to quickly occupy the commanding heights around them, while the others sneaked in with a dagger in one hand and a silenced pistol in the other. These assassins are indeed professional and quietly killed several members of the action team who were on patrol. Of course, it was not completely without any mistakes. The slight sound of the body falling to the ground still alarmed the attention of some people. Fortunately, the sniper on the commanding height solved it with a silenced sniper rifle. The atmosphere in the house became more and more lively with the effect of alcohol. "Go get some more sake." Seeing that there was not much sake on the table, Kamita ordered. Immediately, a younger brother walked out the door. Bang! The slight sound did not attract anyone's attention. After waiting for another 5 minutes, Kamita felt something was wrong. The room where the sundries were stored was very close to here, and it would not take a minute at all. He rolled his eyes and stood up. "Please forgive me, I drank too much. I'm going to the toilet." After saying that, he turned around and walked towards the back door without waiting for a reply. Others did not notice anything unusual and continued to toast. After the killers killed all the hidden players in the house, Jang Dongxiu, Crow, and Aja came in with the younger brothers of the Aoki group. As soon as they entered the door, the younger brothers of the Aoki group did not say a word and directly dealt with the members of the action who did not have time to draw their guns. Because it was too sudden, the members of the Two Leaves Society who were still drinking were frightened and looked at Zhang Dongxiu and others at a loss. "Okay, you guys drink inside, and let us feed mosquitoes outside." "You're all dead," Crow said angrily, looking at the sake and dishes on each table. Zhang Dongxiu also said with a smile, "Have you eaten? If you're done, hurry up and get going." Then he raised his gun and aimed it directly at the members of the Two Leaves Society who wanted to escape. Bang bang bang, gunshots rang out. This time, Big Brother Li Qing gave an order that except for Kamita Taro, there was no need to keep others. The gunshots made Kamita Taro, who was about to escape from the back door, shudder. The Aoki group came faster than he thought. They came just after he gave the order. Someone must have leaked the secret base of the Two Leaves Society. "You know, it's only been 2 hours since the group was wiped out. Damn Shuxia, I really misjudged him." In his impression, Shuxia would definitely not betray the Two Leaves Society. It seems that he still overestimated Shuxia Xiaoshan's loyalty. Fortunately, he has been taught by his deceased father that it is important to save his life in critical moments, otherwise he will not be able to escape this time. Dragging his somewhat fat body, Kamita Taro struggled to climb up the wall. There must be someone at the back door, and he can only escape by finding another way. Bang! Kamita jumped down the wall with difficulty, and his feet stepped heavily on the ground. He looked around and saw that there was indeed no one here, so he breathed a sigh of relief. Uncle Kamita." The sudden voice scared Kamita and he pulled the trigger of the gun in his hand subconsciously. Bang! "Ouch, damn," Sasaki screamed while holding his arms. He was squatting here secretly because of the gunfight in front, but who knew that he would meet Kamita, who jumped down from the wall and shot him without saying a word. After Kamita saw Sasaki's appearance clearly, he took his finger off the trigger. "Sasaki, why are you here?" Before Sasaki could reply, Kamita heard a shout from the wall, and he ran towards the road not far away without saying a word. He didn't have time to worry about why Sasaki was here. If he didn't run away, he would be dead. As for Sasaki, he had to pray for his own luck. Sasaki watched Kamita Taro dragging his fat body into the distance, and he almost died of anger. He was so unlucky that he was shot for no reason. He was extremely angry in his heart, and he shouted directly, "Kamita is here, come quickly." The sound was so loud that it directly attracted the attention of Crow and others who were searching in the yard. Even Kamita Taro heard it, and turned around and shot Sasaki without saying a word. Sasaki was so scared that he hugged his arms and looked for cover everywhere. "Damn Sasaki, wait for me." Kamita also realized that Sasaki might have betrayed him. At this time, Crow and his brothers had already climbed over the wall. "Catch him quickly, and beat him alive." The brothers heard it and shot directly at Kamita's legs. Kamita was so scared that he jumped and walked out snake steps, but unfortunately, the bullet still bit his calf. Kamita Taro stumbled and fell to the ground, but he still crawled forward without giving up. He knew better than anyone what would happen if he was caught by the Aoki group. Unfortunately, Everything was in vain. It didn't take long for him to run out of bullets in his pistol, and he was still dragged back by the Aoki group like a dead dog. Crow squatted down and looked at Kamita with a dusty face with a smile. "Little fat boy, you can run quite well." Kamita panted and said nothing, just glared at Crow viciously. "Oh, you're not convinced?" Crow looked at Kamita with contempt and patted his cheek. "It's okay, when you're convinced, take him back." 5 younger brothers came to barely lift Kamita Taro into the car. The secret base of the Two Leaves Society was also searched by members of the Aoki group, but there was nothing useful. Jang Dongzio simply had someone set fire to it, including the body and the house. "Brother, this is Kamita Taro." Jang Dongzio pulled Kamita Taro's hair. Kneeling on the ground, Kamita stared at Li Qing viciously. "Kamita? Not bad, I finally caught a big fish. You really caused some trouble for the Aoki group." Kamita Taro's actions did bring some trouble to the Aoki group in various places. Some local police stations that acted quickly have begun to take action to clean up individual industries of the Aoki group. If it weren't for the quick response of the Aoki group and the annihilation of the Two Leaf Society's secret base, waiting a few more days might have caused great trouble for the Aoki group. Humph, I just hate those cowards for not using all their strength. In Kamita's plan, if they went all out, they would definitely catch the Aoki group off guard, and even destroy most of the Aoki group's branches. Some people must have some reservations and are holding back. Li Qing chuckled. "You don't think that everyone in the government is from your Two Leaf Society, do you?" "Kamita, you." Li Qing shook his head and pointed at Kamita Taro's sapphire pinky ring and said, "Take off his ring." Crow walked forward with a grim smile, pulled down the sapphire ring that was exactly the same as the one under the tree, and pulled out a dagger to pry it open gently. "Brother." Li Qing took the pinky ring with a smile on his face, but when he saw that there was nothing on the ring base, his face changed. "Where's the thing?" "Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all." Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 547. The sapphire ring on Kamita's hand actually has no chip. Li Qing frowned and muttered to himself, "Is he wrong? Is it really just a coincidence?" Then he denied this idea again. "They are all men, it is unlikely to be a couple's ring, right? It is impossible, right? I ask you again, where is the thing?" Li Qing asked, holding the ring base. Kamita panted and glanced at the ring. "I don't know what you are talking about, this is just the most ordinary ring." Although Kamita deliberately pretended to be confused, his acting was so poor that Crow could see that he was playing dumb. "Playing dumb? I don't think you will give up until you reach the Yellow River. Crow is in your hands." Li Qing sneered and ignored him. Instead, he took Aja out of the room and heard Kamita's screams as soon as he closed the door. Li Qing took out a cigarette from a special cigarette box and threw it to Aja. "Aja, how is the chip cracking going?" He was very concerned about what was in the chip. Seeing Kamita and Shuxia's performance, they must know what was in the chip, but they refused to tell him, which made Li Qing more curious. "Brother, it is not difficult to crack the chip, but the things in the chip are more difficult to deal with." Aja scratched his head. "If the things in the chip are to be made, 3D modeling and printing are required. Now they are doing it through special channels." "Huh? 3D printing? What is it?" Li Qing asked curiously. "It seems to be a key, or to be exact, half of the key," Aja said in a low voice. Originally, he wanted to wait until the key was made before reporting to his elder brother, but he didn't expect his elder brother to ask suddenly. "Half of the key," Li Qing smoked and murmured in a low voice. "It seems that the chip in Kamita's hand is the other half of the key." Half an hour later, Kamita's screams became weaker and weaker. Crow also pushed the door open with blood all over his body. "Brother, this Kamita is very stubborn, he won't reveal where the things are, he just keeps pretending to be stupid." It was the first time that Crow had seen such a stubborn person. Li Qing chuckled and threw away the half-smoked cigarette in his hand. Let's go and take a look. It's rare to meet a few tough people in the daily life. He led people back into the room. Kamita, who was lying on the ground, was so weak that he couldn't stand up. Kamita's shirt had been stripped off, revealing a body of fat, and there were also small knife marks on it. Obviously, these were all left by Crow's torture just now. What caught Li Qing's attention was the tattoo on Kamita's left chest. Kamita's tattoo was different from the others under the tree. In addition to two blood-red leaves, there was also a three-legged crow. Haha, I saw that he had a crow tattoo, and I was so angry that I hit him a little harder. Crow scratched his head embarrassedly. Li Qing didn't care, just frowned and looked at the crow. The three-legged crow was tattooed right on Kamita's chest, with two blood-red leaves in its mouth, which looked much more impressive than just two leaves. Three-legged crow, Li Qing muttered in a low voice. Xianzi, who was not far away, also stepped forward to take a look. Brother, in Xirizi country, this is called Yatagarasu. What Yatagarasu? It's Xirizi plagiarizing our three-legged crow, the crow said angrily. Xirizi has been learning Chinese culture since the Tang dynasty, and even changed the name of Chinese mythology and forced it onto itself. The most famous one is Yamata no Orakai, which is actually Xiangliu in our Chinese mythology, and Tamamanomi in Xirizi legend is the nine-tailed demon fox in Chinese mythology. It can be said that 70% of the monsters in Xirizi legend are plagiarized from China. Yatan no Tsurugai, Li Qing's mind moved, and the tattoo on Kamita's chest must have a certain meaning. Otherwise, as one of the top few people in the Futaba society, it is impossible to blaspheme the symbol of the Futaba society for no reason, unless this Yataguro has other meanings. Dongxiu, take a picture of the tattoo and let the New World Hotel's Intelligence Information Network check it out. Li Qing pointed at the tattoo on Kamita's chest and said. Zhang Dongxiu nodded, and immediately asked his younger brother to bring a camera, took a picture of the tattoo pattern, and asked someone to investigate. Squatting in front of Kamita, Li Qing asked softly, Kamita, you still haven't said anything. Kamita smiled grimly, and blood couldn't help but overflow from his mouth. What? I don't know anything. Tisk tisk. Li Qing stood up with a sneer, call Sasaki in. Sasaki had contact with Kamita, and it is very likely that he knows something, so let him try. Sasaki heard Li Qing's call and hurried in. The bullet in his arm had been taken out and carefully bandaged. You order, Sasaki, who was hanging his arms, nodded and bowed. Ask him where the other chip is. When Kamita heard the word chip, his body shook violently. Only then did he confirm that the thing really fell into Li Qing's hands. When Sasaki saw Kamita lying on the ground in misery, he felt a little guilty. In fact, Kamita still took good care of him. He felt the stabbing pain on his shoulder again, and he felt relieved. The gunshot wound was in exchange for Kamita's care over the years. Uncle Kamita. Sasaki just walked in front of Kamita. He was sprayed with blood foam by Kamita. Sasaki, you bastard, you actually betrayed me and the Two Leaves Society. He always knew that Sasaki was sincere, and he had always taken care of him for the sake of their past friendship. He never expected that Sasaki would repay kindness with hatred and be ungrateful. If Sasaki hadn't yelled that, he would have run away long ago. Sasaki wiped his face was very ugly. Kamita, a man who knows the times is a hero. Do you think you are a good person? At least I haven't killed anyone. How many people have you killed? Kamita has a more perverted sexual fetish. He is used to the tight feeling of women suffocating. Because of this hobby, he killed several women, including not only women from his daily life, but also some women from Korea, China, and even the United States. It is absolutely correct to say that he is full of evil. Seriously speaking, Sasaki is indeed a good person compared to him. Kamita glared at Sasaki and stopped talking. He has made up his mind that no matter what method the other party uses, he will never reveal the information of the other chip. He knows that Li Qing will never kill him if he can't get the other chip. Once he revealed the location of the chip, he would lose his value. He was trying to delay as much as possible, hoping that someone would come to rescue him after getting the news. Half an hour later, Sasaki tried to persuade him, but Kamita refused to speak. Everyone's patience was being worn away by him, even Zhang Dongxiu, who was always calm, couldn't help but want to use some tricks. Only Li Qing looked calm and composed, and kept his head down, thinking about something. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 548. After a lot of trouble, Kamita gritted his teeth and refused to say anything. Li Qing looked at Kamita with a bruised nose and swollen face. He began to put himself into Kamita's role. If he were Kamita, he would definitely carry such an important thing with him. It is more convenient to carry the chip with you if it is so small. For example, if you put it in a ring like a hill under a tree, you won't be able to find it unless you are careful. So Li Qing is sure that the chip must be on Kamita. Take off his clothes. No underwear left, Li Qing immediately ordered. After knocking Kamita unconscious, the younger brothers stepped forward one after another and took off all the clothes on Kamita's body. Search his clothes carefully and be careful. There is most likely a chip in them. Li Qing touched his chin and looked at the torn clothes. The boys received Li Qing's order and began to carefully examine Kamita's clothes, even using scissors to slowly cut along the corners. Brother, no. No. No pants either. One boy covered his nose and held up his cut underwear. There are no underwear either. Nothing related was found, which made Li Qing a little self-doubt, whether his guess was wrong. Could it be that Kamita put the chip in a safe, or was it burned in the secret stronghold of the Futaba society? Sasaki, think about what's special about Kamita, or a place you often visit. Sasaki knows Kamita, and may be able to find the location of the chip through his information. Sasaki didn't dare to neglect to recall everything about Kamita in his mind, but unfortunately he was not that familiar with Kamita, and he didn't know much about some of his daily things. But he vaguely remembered that his grandfather once said that when Kamita was a child, he injured his eye while playing with gunpowder, but now he seems to be fine. He doesn't know if this news is considered special. Kamita's eyes were injured when he was a child. Big brother Li Qing asked him a question, but he couldn't hand it over in vain. It was better to deal with it instead of saying nothing. Sasaki's words caught Li Qing's heart. He came to Kamita and squatted down. Which eye? Left eye. Zhang Dongxiu pulled the left eye of Kamita, who was unconscious, and Li Qing frowned, which was indeed a bit strange. Bring a lamp. He shined the lamp on Kamita's left eye. Li Qing saw some clues. The pupil of Kamita's left eye did not change. Kita's left eye is fake, the crow took it out. Crow immediately responded, picked up the dagger and started to act. Because of the severe pain in his eyes, Kamita woke up suddenly and kept screaming. The crow ignored Kamita's eyes and pried them out. Brother, it's really fake, Crow shouted excitedly, his hands covered with blood. Then he wiped the prosthetic eye clean before handing it to his elder brother. Li Qing took the prosthetic eye and looked at it carefully. The prosthetic eye was made very delicately, and you couldn't tell anything out of the ordinary from a distance. If Sasaki hadn't reminded him, Li Qing wouldn't have discovered it. I took the prosthetic eye and looked through the light above my head, and I could vaguely see the chip inside. Haha, he is good at hiding things. Whether it's a ring or an artificial eye, people in childhood are really good at hiding treasures. After smashing the prosthetic eye to reveal the chip inside, Li Qing smiled and handed the chip to Aja, asking him to give it to a professional. When Kamita saw the chip being taken away, he seemed to have lost all his energy. He collapsed on the ground and did not look up. What kind of lock does this key open? Where is the location? Before Li Qing could ask, Crow stepped forward and started questioning. Li Qing shook his head, try him and Shuxia separately. If two people say the same thing, it is definitely the truth, if they are different, it is definitely a lie. The next thing is completely left to Wu Wu and others. Li Qing believes in their ability and they will be able to interrogate them sooner or later. Now that they have obtained the mysterious key, they have a lot of time to slowly grind down the two tough bones. Crow and others were busy, and at the same time, because of Li Qing's order, the entire intelligence network of the New World Hotel began to operate rapidly. Almost every person in charge of information has a picture of Yatagarasu's tattoo, but unfortunately most people have never seen it, and have only heard of Yatagarasu's name in legends. Kuraki Maple is affiliated with the New World Hotel in Sapporo. He used to be an employee of the Continental Hotel and is now an employee of the New World Hotel. And he was specifically responsible for information. When he saw the pictures sent from Tokyo, he was stunned. He had never seen this tattoo, but he had heard of it. He didn't know if the story his grandfather told him when he was young had anything to do with this tattoo. In the impression, his grandfather did mention the matter of Yatatagarasu holding two leaves. Kuraki? Kuraki? Why are you so stunned? The person in charge of Sapporo New World Hotel pushed him gently. Ah. Huh. What do you mean, manager? Kuromu Feng finally came back to his senses. I see you are fascinated by the pictures. Do you know about this tattoo? The hotel manager asked with a concerned look on his face. He has been the manager of the Sapporo New World Hotel for some time. Since Li Qing established the New World Hotel, the promotion channels there have been very transparent, that is, whoever makes meritorious service will be promoted. He also wanted to move up. Going to a big city was much better than staying here. He Mufeng thought about it carefully. I vaguely remember my grandfather telling me about this story when I was young, but now it's been too long and I can't remember it. The manager was delighted when he heard it. Is your grandfather still alive now? Yes. He lives in the countryside. Let's go, hurry up. It's almost evening now. The manager pulled He Mufeng out of the hotel. It was a great opportunity to make meritorious deeds, and time must not be wasted. The two drove directly to 160 miles per hour. The journey that was originally more than an hour took the manager half an hour to arrive. Under the slightly old wooden house, He Mufeng's grandfather was shirtless, sitting in a rocking chair, fanning himself leisurely with a fan and squinting his eyes. Grandpa! He Mufeng, why are you back? He Mufeng introduced his boss to his grandfather and briefly described the matter. Old man, do you still remember it? The manager carefully handed over the photo of the tattoo. Kuraki Kaed's grandfather took his reading glasses from the table beside him and looked at the photo in the light. Yataguchi Crow holding two leaves, I didn't expect to see this pattern, Kuraki Kaed's grandfather muttered softly. The manager's eyes flashed with joy, and he had a chance to get promoted this time. What is this? Can you tell me about it? Kuraki Kaed's grandfather sighed deeply. What is this? This is the totem of an organization that disappeared in the long river of history. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 549. Organization, the manager was stunned for a moment. As the branch manager of the New World Hotel, he had many channels to obtain information. Not only the information about the assassin business, but also the information about the underground forces. It can be said that anyone with a little fame in the Little Japan can find specific information in the information department of the New World Hotel. but it was the first time that he heard of the Yataguro organization mentioned by Kuraki Feng's grandfather. He originally thought that the pattern on the tattoo represented a special meaning, but he didn't expect it to be the totem of an organization. Seeing the puzzled look of the two, Kuraki Feng's grandfather also shook his head. It's normal that you don't know. This organization was active in the Edo period, and it is indeed a long time ago. Yataguro has a close relationship with the royal family and Shintoism. As Kuraki Feng's grandfather slowly narrated, the two began to have a simple understanding of this mysterious organization that disappeared in history. Yataguro, according to legend, is the messenger of Amaterasu Omikami. The three legs of Yatagarasu represent heaven, earth, and man, and it also follows the Chinese Taoist concept of one gives birth to two, two gives birth to three, and three gives birth to all things. Its three legs also represent starting from zero. Correspondingly, the organization Yatagushi has three leaders, collectively known as Dagushi. Under Dagushi there are 12 gushi, that is, 12 core members. Under 12 gushi there are dozens of formal members. It is said that there are 60 or 70 in total, and no one knows the exact number except Dagushi. Moreover, Yatagushi is different from other organizations. It is an organization formed by clans and bloodlines, so the relationship is much closer than other organizations. Yatagushi used to be very powerful, and it could even influence the direction of the entire Zairai kingdom. Grandpa, why has no one heard of such a huge force now? Kuraki Feng asked curiously. The manager also wanted to ask this question. If this organization still exists, it is impossible that there is no news at all. Could it be that someone can hide all the information about Yatagushi? In that case, the person behind Yatagushi has too much power. Kuraki Feng's grandfather shook the palm leaf fan in his hand. This is all because of GHQ, General MacArthur, the commander-in-chief in Japan. Since the defeat of the war and the stationing of the United States, the power of the emperor and the shrine has been suppressed, and this organization has slowly died out. It has only been a few decades. With the death of the older generation, few people know that this organization existed. Even I thought it was gone, but I didn't expect to see this totem again now. After listening to Kuraki Feng's grandfather's words, the two fell into silence. It seems that this organization did not die as people thought, but was hidden. The two did not bother too much and drove directly back to Sapporo. They also had to sort out the information urgently and send it to Tokyo. Li Qing sat on the chair with two keys in his hand. It is said to be two, but it is actually one. The key can be combined through the groove at the top. Is this what is in the chip? Li Qing looked at the key and asked. Yes, big brother. These two keys are recorded in the chip. It is obvious that they are not ordinary door locks from the style of the keys, Aja replied quickly. Li Qing nodded. This kind of key is a bit like the ancient Chinese key. The teeth of different sizes and shapes also indicate the complexity of the door lock. Well, how is the interrogation of Crow? Now everything is ready, except for the mysterious place. Li Qing really wants to know what these people are hiding. The mouth under the tree is a little loose, but Kamita is still as hard as ever. Zhang Dongzio sighed and shook his head. Li Qing sneered and was about to speak when he was interrupted by a knock on the door. Come in. A younger brother hurriedly came in with a document and respectfully placed it on the table of the big brother Li Qing. Big brother, this is the news from the Sapporo New World Hotel. Li Qing picked up the document and waved his hand to let him go down. It's another mysterious organization. The organization behind the Yehweh. Li Qing looked at the information about Yatagushi carefully, and raised his eyebrows. This organization is interesting. It not only plagiarized the myths of China, but also Christianity. Not to mention that it plagiarized the three life and all things and the three-legged golden crow of Chinese Taoism. Even the 12 crows correspond to the 12 disciples of Jesus. Tisk tisk, You take a look. He handed the information to Zhang Dongzhou and others. While Zhang Dongzhou and others were reading the information carefully, Li Qing was indeed lost in thought. Looking at the totem of Yatagushi holding 2 leaves, it can be guessed that the Er Yehwei is very likely to be the peripheral organization of Yatagushi. Things are more interesting than he thought. He kept rubbing the key in his hand. It seems that the value of the things in this secret vault is greater than he thought. I didn't expect that there is an organization behind the Er Yehwei. Zhang Dongzhou put down the information in his hand. It's a bit scary to think about it, Aja whispered. I've never heard of this, even as a commoner. Xianzi shook his head. Several people knew that they might have discovered something extraordinary. As long as they pried open the mouths of Kamita or Shuxia, they would definitely get something from it. Let's go, let's see if this Kamita is really not afraid of death. Li Qing sneered, stood up, and led people out of the room. After a while, they arrived at the room where Kamita was interrogated. When he pushed the door open, he saw that Kamita had been hung up, with only his toes touching the ground. Brother! Crow panted and came to Li Qing. Li Qing nodded, knowing that Crow had not dug out any useful information from this man. He pulled a chair and sat in front of Kamita. Crow, bring the tree down. Crow nodded and went down to do his work. Kamita heard Li Qing's words, opened his swollen eyes, and sneered, don't think about getting anything from me. You inferior people will be annexed by us sooner or later. Li Qing narrowed his eyes, and a cold light shot out of his eyes. Gun. Zhang Dongzhou behind him immediately pulled out the pistol from his waist and handed it to his eldest brother. Bang bang. Li Qing directly broke Kamita's knees with 2 shots. The legs that Kamita could still use were directly useless. The arm was directly dislocated under the pull of the body weight, and Kamita's screams resounded throughout the room. Based on what Kamita had just said, Li Qing sentenced him to death. Since you don't want to say it, then don't say it forever. The door was pushed open, and Crow came in with his little brother, dragging Shuxia Xiaoshan. Brother, the people are here, Crow said in a low voice. Shuxia was also tortured, but he seemed to be in a much better mental state than Kamita. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Banwanqing Bulletin Liang. Chapter 550. Seeing the miserable state of Kamita Taro under the tree, he immediately shuddered. Although he was also tortured a lot, he was still better than Kamita. At this time, Kamita also saw the tree and said sternly, Shuxia Hill, please don't say anything, or your family will die. Li Qing watched this scene without saying a word, and directly threw the pistol to Zhang Dongzhou. Kill him. Zhang Dongzhou shot Kamita Taro directly between the eyebrows without any hesitation. Li Qing slowly walked to Kamita's body. You think I don't know that the Yatagarasu organization is connected by clan and blood? Don't worry, your relatives will go down to accompany you soon. From the moment he obtained the information, Li Qing knew why Kamita was so determined. His family is involved, and he won't tell it until he dies. As for the hill under the tree, Li Qing guessed that he was probably a peripheral member of Yatagara's, so he relaxed a little. When Shuxia saw Li Qing decisively killing Kamita, he was stunned. Kamita knew more than him. Did Li Qing really not want to know? Under the tree, you can choose not to say anything. I don't mind sending you and your family down to be with him. Li Qing looked under the tree and chuckled. Xiaoshan pursed his lips under the tree. Can you let my family go? He now knows that he must die, and what he wants in his heart is not to involve his family. Haha, killing your family will not do us any good, don't worry. Li Qing shook his head. Shuxia Xiaoshan also knew that if he persisted, he would only be able to survive for a few days, and even his own family would be retaliated by the Aokigumi. What's more, if Li Qing knew about the Yagarasu thing, he would still investigate it even if he didn't tell it. It just took more time. Taro Kamita is one of the 12 crows, and he has a very high status among the 12 crows. He can be said to be the first person under the 12 crows. And I am his exclusive nihility monk. The void monk is equivalent to the deputy of the 12 crows. Just in case, the secret key asked me to take half of it and him to take half. Under the tree, Koyama began to whisper about his relationship with Kamita. In fact, every 12 crows has a void monk under them to assist them in doing some trivial matters, so the void monk is even exposed to more things than the 12 crows. Li Qing frowned. Each 12 crows has a secret room. What are the identities of the other 12 crows? Xiao Shan under the tree shook his head. I don't know if there are secret rooms. The identities of the other 12 crows are kept secret. I usually contact other void monks, but I can know other void monks through void monks. The identity of 12 crows. Li Qing nodded. This was in line with the principles of a mysterious organization. No wonder he felt that the ERY society was a bit awkward. It turned out to be a peripheral organization on the surface. Tell me, where is the secret room? Under the tree, he looked up at Kamita's dead body and said, the secret room is at the headquarters of Kojiri Bank. Hearing Shuxia's words, Aja and Xianji's expressions changed. Maid, do you dare to play tricks on us? The Bank of Japan for short, is the largest state-owned bank in Japan. Although its financial strength is not among the top 10, its level of rigor is quite high. Aja and Kenji both knew this when they were young, so they suspected that this tree was deliberately leading them in the wrong direction. Well. Li Qing looked at the tree coldly. It's true. I don't need to lie to you. You will not let my family go after you suffer losses. It is impossible for me to bet with my family's lives. Facing the anger of other people, Shuxia said calmly. Brother, the Bank of Japan is more difficult to deal with than expected. If we act rashly. Aja looked at the boss and said softly. Li Qing also frowned. If what Shuxia said was true, it would be much more difficult to enter the secret room. Even if they couldn't attack a country's central bank casually, such an approach would be condemned internationally. The secret room is in an inconspicuous dark room of the Bank of Japan. Kamita and I have to go through layers of checks every time we enter. And, we also need fingerprint authentication from both of us. Looking at Li Qing under the tree, he whispered. Crow glanced at Kamita who had become a cold corpse and cursed. Li Qing closed his eyes and thought for a moment. Tell me, what is there in the secret room that deserves so much attention from the Yehui and the Yatakarasu? This kind of security level is probably not worthy of even the national treasures of Xyli. I only know part of it. There are certain things in it that Kamita won't let me handle. What I know is that it contains a large amount of gold bars, criminal evidence of various political figures in my childhood, and information about individuals of the 12 crows. He said with his fingers under the tree. Li Qing didn't care about gold bars at all, but he did have ideas about the criminal evidence of various political figures in his childhood, information about individual people in the 12 crows, and things he had never touched under the tree. In particular, there may be some clues about the identity of the legendary Dao in the secret room. Anything else? The one who really controls the lifeblood of Xyli is the Yatakaras. The Two-Leaf Society is just an organization that depends on the existence of Yatakaras. Most of the people in the organization are middle-level leaders. The ones who can really control the direction of the entire Xyli are Yatakara, I suspect. There was a pause under the tree, as if there were still some doubts. What do you suspect? You can tell us and we will listen, Li Qing said softly. As a monk of nothingness, Shuxia's suspicions are still worth referring to. Shuxia gritted his teeth. I suspect that the former prime minister is one of the big crows of the Yatta Crow. Huh? Who? Are you talking about Anbei? Li Qing raised his eyebrows and asked tentatively. Shuxia Xiaoshan nodded. Although he was not sure, he had reasons to doubt. Reason? I accidentally discovered that Kamita met him several times in private, and each time he was extremely respectful to him. You know, Kamita is the leader of the 12 crows, and there are not many people who can make him kowtow. Shuxia didn't say anything else. Li Qing and others could hear what he meant next. According to the statement, the former Prime Minister of Xiaozizi might really be one of the big crows. Li Qing's fingers tapped the table lightly, dong dong. The sound was particularly harsh. Everyone was silent, and even subconsciously reduced their breathing, for fear of interrupting the eldest brother Li Qing's thinking. Li Qing frowned. The situation was more serious than he thought. At the beginning, it might not attract attention if he just got rid of the Iryi society. Now he followed the fishing line and found that the fish behind were too big for him to eat. This was not just the former Prime Minister of Zaire. Li Qing himself guessed that the top 3 people in Zaire's political arena might not be one of the big crows. Humph! Li Qing snorted coldly and made a decision. No matter what, he had to deal with the secret room first and see what was inside before making the next plan. Li Qing leaned back on the chair, get ready. Use 4 weeks to investigate the situation of the Bank of Japan clearly. Don't miss any details. The treasure inside may be beyond my imagination.